healthy development, desirable outcomes for children. A lot of people talk about the 5 Every Child Matters outcomes, and I will bring those to your attention in just a little while. So we got that with it, with the Act of Parliament. So it's based on a 2004 Act, so it looks exactly like that, it's just got 2004 in it, Children Act 2004. We got that. We got this, very important. That's for everybody in the country working together to safeguard children. 2006 first version. There's a slightly revised 2010 version which you would look up online if you wanted to see. This is quite readable. It looks very thick, but the language is readable, and it really does give you good guidance for putting stuff into practice. Also in 2006, along with this legislation, we got all these guidelines are effectively law. 2006 said you've got to have local safeguarding children boards in every local authority. And this is a good move because it means every local authority has got to get together between all the agencies that work with children, really. It's going to be led by the police and social services to write their own child protection for the county. And if they've got to do it from scratch, it makes them really think about it. They don't vary that much from one county to another because they're based on the law and the guidance to the law. So this and this will tie up absolutely. 2006 till just May this year, we had these 2 red manuals, and that's all the child protection procedures for West Sussex, East Sussex, Brighton and Hove. So we call it the Pan-Sussex Child Protection Procedures. They used to be in these. If you've got these, I wouldn't shut them out because they're not really outdated. They've just been slightly revised 2011, May this year, because some fine-tuning was done as a result of the findings of the Baby P inquiries. Now this was very significant, local safeguarding 2006 for your world services, because for the first time we get in child protection law the idea that domestic abuse is a child protection issue. Before that, there's this sort of woolly thinking that, oh well, if the children haven't actually seen, they haven't actually witnessed the domestic violence, it's not a child safeguarding issue. But what about they hear it? Even if they don't hear it, what about they live in the atmosphere in that house of domestic abuse? And thank goodness 2006 we get a dead clear acknowledgement of this. It counts, there are 4 main categories of child safeguarding: physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect and sexual abuse. Domestic violence tends to come under emotional abuse, which is always a slightly harder thing to prove, although we're getting better techniques of doing that now. And then we get in these procedures a special section, domestic violence and children. So for the first time, 2006, a specialist category of child protection law is domestic abuse and children. So if you would like to turn in your books to, I think that would be on page 3. I haven't got page numbers on these. There's just 3 pages, and I really want you to draw your attention to it, because this is the Pan-Sussex kind of law, what it says we have to do to protect our children. It gives us the official definition of domestic abuse. Now, if you want to access the rest of the information at any point, which you could do in your work, that used to be in these manuals, you'll get all. You've obviously got the domestic abuse bit to take away, but if you want to know more about how child protection inquiries are supposed to work, how quickly social services should respond to initial referrals, say by one of you, all of that is in these manuals, and you'll find that there. I'll leave that up just in case any of you would like to write it down so you can access it. So it's www.proceduresonline.com/PanSussex/SCB, Safeguarding Children's Board. I would just like to read the first of these 3 pages with you, and then I'm going to let you read the other 2 pages, because I'm sure you can see the relevance of you acquainting yourself with this. Some of you may be already, why these 3 pages are so important. So, specialist category of child protection, domestic abuse. And here we've got our definition. Domestic abuse within these procedures is defined as any incident of threatening behaviour, violence or abuse, whether it's psychological, physical, sexual, financial or emotional, between adults or young people who are or have been intimate partners, family members or extended family members, regardless of gender or sexuality. And the real implication of this is if there is domestic abuse, it is automatically a child safeguarding concern. It does acknowledge that whilst it's mostly women that are on the receiving end of domestic abuse, there are sometimes female perpetrators. And then the recognition section, that's the last one I want to read with you really, is abuse of children as a result of domestic abuse may manifest itself, in other words, it may show itself in a variety of ways, including physical violence, emotional or psychological abuse, sexual violence, financial control, or the imposition of socialisation, imposition of social isolation or movement deprivation. So, if mother's control in her movements, the children are likely to be. So therefore, this is definitely a child safeguarding concern. Where there's domestic abuse, the implications for the children in the household must be considered, because research evidence indicates a strong link between domestic abuse and all types of child abuse and neglect. These children should be regarded as children in need and may display low self-esteem, depression, absenteeism from school, bullying, either doing it or being on the receiving end of it, that is, antisocial or criminal behaviour, drug and alcohol misuse and self-harm. So the state recognised, and in turn the local authority, that domestic abuse, where it's present, has serious implications on children, and it actually lists them based on some pretty comprehensive research. It says significant harm may result from the adverse psychological effect on children of being aware of threats or actual violence between adults, as well as the extra risk of physical injury, either by accident in the midst of a violent incident or by design from a violent adult. This is the bit that really acknowledges children are affected, and therefore it's a child safeguarding issue, even if the child hasn't seen it, even if the child hasn't heard it. It's talking about just broadly, thank goodness, about adverse psychological effects on children. I don't really think, and I think probably you could well even all agree with me, I don't think children can be in a household where there's domestic violence and not incur some adverse psychological effects. Can any child be completely untouched by it?
No.
No. And here we go finally with the recognition. Any agency assessment should consider the possibility of domestic abuse. Well, with your agency, Worth Services, I mean, it's not just consider the possibilities, there is domestic abuse or you wouldn't be involved. And here's one of the foundation reasons why we're here today, because this is what the law says. And ensure the response safeguards both the children and the non-abusing parent. So we've just as much responsibility in our response to safeguard the children as we have to help protect the non-abusing parent, help her protect herself. So it's stated crystal clear in the law, we must safeguard the child and the non-abusing parent. Now, I just want to take the time, this is the only thing we're going to really get you to read in this way today. I really want you to read the next 2 pages, because that's it. Do read them now, because you can ask questions if you like, and I hope I'll be able to answer most of them. So resist the temptation of drawing nice little flowers in it and thinking I'll read it later.